Welcome back to the channel. Today we're looking at recording in FL Studio. The recent update has changed a few things, and it's pretty much easier than ever to record, but we're gonna take a look at new features and functions. I'm also giving away 5 copies of FL Studio to celebrate this new update. So check the description to find out how to enter 2 windows and also for the chapters and time stamps. If you already know something I'm covering in this video and just wanna skip to the new stuff. So, without further delay, let's get right into it. This method works to record external inputs like microphones, but you can also use it to record drum machines, synthesizers, anything that you've got connected to your computer or audio interface. So, the first thing we need to do is our project and then navigate to the audio settings, which is options. Audio settings, find your device in this drop-down list. So either your sound card or a dedicated audio interface, which allows you to connect microphones and speakers to your computer. This just lets FL Studio know that we want to use this device for recording, and the only other setting we need to look at the buffer length here, which is set in samples or milliseconds. You need to have this set quite small when you're recording if you want to be able to hear your voice or your instrument back while you're recording, which for most people is quite essential. If you go to low and your computer can't cope with it, you'll start hearing lots of pops, cracks, and distortions. So, if you are getting those issues, just simply increase it to a larger number of samples and see if that stops. Now we're gonna start the actual recording process. And there's 2 ways to do this. As usual in FL Studio, there's lots of ways to do the same thing. So I have an empty track on my playlist, and I'm going to open my mixer by pressing this button, F9 on my keyboard, and I'm just gonna select an empty mixer track here. Right-click, assign to new audio track, and you'll notice that nothing's really changed on the mixer, but on the playlist, we've added this track here. Insert 15. And now if I change the name to something a little bit more useful, like recording, and also change the color, that's a center click. So, let's give it a blue color. You can see that these 2 are linked now. So that's the first way to set up this recording link. I'll just very quickly show you the second way. So let's add a new track. So on our track header here, I'm just going to right-click and to insert a new track. Right-click track mode, audio track, and then I can select any track on my mixer. These are ones that are already taken up with my stems. I'll just select insert 16 because it's empty. And again, you can see it's done exactly the same thing and created that link. Now I'm going to delete this track because we don't need it. We're almost ready to press record. I just have to tell this track which input on my audio interface and is to listen to. So this button here and this box both let you select an audio input source. It gives me all of the different inputs on my audio interface. Again, yours will look different depending on whether you've got microphones attached to drum machine. You'll need to select a different combination of inputs. And this box here, just to show you, it says exactly the same thing. So I'm going to select input because that's where I have my microphone connected. It will flash up a little warning asking if you just want to record the external input. And in this case, I'd say yes. And I don't need to see this warning again. I have another microphone connected to my audio interface, just going into channel 1. Here it is, and I can hear a double of my voice. And I'm just going to set the gain. You can see it peaking on the mixer and also on the recording channel. We just want to turn this until we're getting a good sort of healthy signal. We're not clipping it into the red. Just something like this, where you can see that green bouncing up and down. The next thing we have to set up is the audio monitoring, which is done with either one of these 2 buttons. Do exactly the same thing. So, if I open this up, we can change the monitoring here. So right now, when it's armed, you'll hear a double of your voice. But if you don't want to hear your voice just simply change this to off. And these recording settings here, choose where in your effects chain you're going to be recording your signal. Now I think for most people, 99% of the time, record external inputs only. This means it's not gonna go through mixer EQ or be affected by any volume adjustments inside the software. But if you're a little bit more advanced, you want to try recording at a different point in the chain or through different amounts of effects, you can select any of these and experiment with it. It's all good. And then finally, to make sure that we record right, just make sure that you have recording selected, which you can turn on here or on the mixer here again. They're linked. They do the same thing, and with that we can finally press record. Up at the top here, audio into the playlist. As an audio clip, it'll give us a countdown, and then we're recording. So there's a few things we can do here. First, we can go to this top bar and turn on a metronome as we're recording, which you'll hear, but it's not going to be recorded into that audio file. I also had a countdown before I started recording. Just gave me 3, 2, 1, and then starts recording. And you can see right now that the audio level's quite low. It gives us a preview of the way formats recording it. So, if I turn this up, you can see that I'm more signal. But now I'm clipping, and I'm gonna turn it back down again. And just make sure that I'm sort of nice, what we call a healthy signal range. Now I'm recording, not listening along to any of my tracks, but you can just take out of solo, and you can listen and sort of sing along with the rest of your track. I'm just doing a voiceover right now. Where is it been recorded to? That's the question. So, if I open up my channel, you'll see recording down here, and you can edit it just like any other audio file in your project. So usually not just recording the start to the end. You're usually recording a line, a chorus, a verse. So what you can select do is a region. So this is a right click and drag on the top of the playlist. Or if you hold Shift or Control and a left click, it does the same thing. And if I select loop, recording here. Now when I press play, it gives me that countdown. We're recording this section just like last time. And at the end, it's going to loop back around. It's going to add another track underneath and group it. And you can see that now recording another take of the same thing. This is brilliant. If you're playing maybe a complex line on guitar and you just want to loop the same part until you get it, you can just keep recording take after take until you get it. Once you're done, you can stop by the pressing record or stop up here. And we'll have all of our different tracks in the playlist. They're all currently muted, so to unmute them, you can press T. Or use the mute tool here, and then a left click. And you've got them all here. So this really is the basics of recording done. You could certainly go away and just start sort of having fun recording your own stuff. But I want to show you a few sort of tips and tricks that make things a little bit easier. You'll notice when I open up the channel rack that all of these audio files have been sent to track 15. Which is the same place that we recorded them, but it's quite likely that where you record them won't be the same place you put your effects on. I could easily send all of these to a different channel, just one of the time like that, or I could select a few of them at the same time. Go over to here, press Ctrl L, and it will send them all to that same channel. These are all the different takes of our vocal, but we'll probably want to chop them up. You could listen and maybe you like the start of this one, the end of this, and then maybe the very end of that last clip. This is called vocal comping, where you sort of edit everything together like this. All of these right. Now we'll have quite a sharp transition. You can see if I show you this, it's cut off. What we can do is double click, select a declicking mode, smooth generic, or crossfade, and look at this here. It will fade out the end of this audio. This makes it so much easier to combine different audio clips. When you're happy with the edits that you've made, you can select them all by pressing Ctrl, left click and drag. If you go up to the top here, Tools, Consolidate, Playlist Selection, this will combine all of these clips together. So from selection start, it will just give you a few options. Of course, you can change these, make higher quality and whatnot. And now all of these 3 clips have been consolidated into one new clip here. So that's quite a little sort of tip or trick. And as you expect with FL Studio, there's also other ways to do the same thing. So if you go to the playlist, track header, you can right click and select Consolidate Tracks from Track Start. And you can just do exactly the same thing a little bit quicker than the other method. I've got 2 more very quick tips that I'd like to share if you want to hear them. The first is to go back into Options, Audio Settings, and write down at the bottom, Preview Mixer Track. Make sure that this is not set to blank. Make sure that it's set to 1 or a higher number. This is the track where your metronome will be output, but also any sample you select the browser. If I again open the mixer by pressing F9 or this button up here, my metronome is now being sent to track 1, which means that I can very easily control the volume of it or even change the sound of it by adding a delay to the metronome, which can help you record with a different sort of groove. Or I can smooth out the harsh high end of the metronome. So all these different things just make recording a little bit easier. The second tip is an entirely different way of recording that I've made a separate video on. So instead of recording through the playlist like this, you can select your microphone input here. Then you can load an FL Studio stock plugin called Edison by pressing Ctrl E. This is a very powerful but somewhat underrated plugin. If I press record, I'm recording directly the input into this track, which happens to be my microphone. You can see that I'm recording. I haven't pressed play on the playlist. I'm not recording up here. There's lots of different recording functions, just like you can do the playlist. And you also have a whole host of different audio editing and manipulation tools. You can select a region, or if you're using a looping mode, it does this for you. And then you can simply drag and drop this wherever you like on the playlist. This is my preferred way to record, and I have an entire video showing you how to sort of get the most out of the Audison and really use it. It's definitely my favorite way to record, but it's not the most simple way, which was what I showed at the start of this video. So that's everything for this video.